going on. Yeah, I'd go ahead and start it. I mean, even if it doesn't show it, it's fine. Maybe it does show it and we just don't see it here. I don't know. All right, let's. Hello, everyone. Thanks for hopping in, and hopefully you all can hear us okay. Nice. Yes. If you can't hear Alex, definitely say so in the chat. Alex, go ahead and try to talk again.
I think I figured it out, folks. I think I got this one. There is a little button here that says on, and I was supposed to push it. So I believe we're all here now, and I believe everybody can hear Nathan, which is great, which is a huge improvement for last time.
Yeah.
And we got me, and we're building this application right now. So folks, for those of you that are just joining in, what we're doing today is we're going to be upgrading this Nativescript OAuth 2 plugin. It's a plugin that basically, without any dependencies, any third-party dependencies, allows you to log into or authorize your application to use services like Microsoft or Google, and it's a generic OAuth provider, basically, OAuth 2 provider. So what we're going to be doing is upgrading this to the latest version of Nativescript. That's today. Let me pull this up right here. Here's my simulator. It's coming up. Oh, by the way, right here, I ran this using the older version of Nativescript, so Nativescript 6, and I ran that using the npx command. You can still do that. I already have Nativescript 7 installed on my machine, so that's why I had to use npx to run it as the older version of Nativescript, to make sure everything is working before we kick things off here. Now, the upgrade should not be very painful. It should be pretty simple. But because this is live, who knows what's going to happen. Okay, so here is my demo. It came up, and I'm going to click on login. Okay, so I'm using the Microsoft provider right now. That's what I have configured. And this should bring up the Microsoft login page. There we go. I'm going to try logging in here. All right, next. Well, yeah, I am trying to sign in. There we go. Oh, folks, by the way, I signed in earlier. That's why it didn't ask me for my password. But we do have this OAuth token right there. And the code for that is right here. So we have 3 demos here: a Vue demo, an Angular demo, and a core demo. And I'm logging in under my Microsoft account. So, welcome, Nathan. Thanks for joining. This is basically the starting point, and I'm going to try to fix your video. For those of you that are not familiar with Nathan Walker is one of the core members of Nativescript. and maybe he can introduce himself while I try to get him on the screen here.
Thanks, Alex. Hopefully you all can still hear me, and thanks for tuning in. You know, I think at Nativescript 7, it's exciting to be at this point for the framework because it's long been needed. It's really was probably 2 years past due to get it targeting a modern ES target. So luckily, the changes to work with Nativescript 7 really are not as much as it may seem. The blog post for plugin authors that states the 6 key things, it really is those 6 key things to keep in mind. And I think, yeah, just updating one on the fly is probably the best way to see, you know, just any aspects. If there's something that's missing, if you've tried to update one, or maybe you're just curious about updating your own project, a lot of what we'll do here is relevant to what you would do in an actual project, you know, a team project if you have one going. So we'll probably update the demo here as well. So that part, of course, will be relevant to the project. There's only one key difference, I would say, between project updates and plugin updates, and that is the native class decorator. Right now, the native class decoration that is used for ES 2015 and higher targeting, that decorator works in the Webpack configs with the latest. So Nativescript Webpack 3.0 and above provides that transformation by default to projects. And so you really don't have to think about it. Any native extension that you're doing custom in your project, if you just drop the native class decorator above it, it will just work. The difference with plugins is that plugins don't typically use a Webpack config. And because they don't use a Webpack config, you want to configure your TS compilation to actually do the proper transformation. We have contemplated whether or not we should or could provide a Webpack config to plugin builds. And there's arguments on both sides of that. You know, I think in general, it almost seems a bit heavy to do that sort of thing in a plugin because you can just use a standard TSC compile to compile your plugin. And it seems a lot more lightweight, I think, just to stick with pure plain Jane TSC compile to plugins because it does work fine. There's a great plugin out there called TS Patch, and it basically allows the TSC compiler to be extended to provide transformations. So in plugins, you want to add the plugins TS Patch, and that will reference the actual transformer that's in the Nativescript Webpack. Sounds like a mouthful, but it's not as bad as it sounds, and that's what we'll do in this project. Now, I wasn't 100% sure if this project had native class extensions. I guess it's worth prefacing that with the native class decorator is only needed if you have native class extensions. Generally, what we're referring to there is extends NS object or extends Java something or extends Android something. So that it's really only needed in TypeScript-based projects and only if you're extending a pure native class. So why don't we start there, Alex? So we've confirmed the project, the demo worked in Nativescript 6, and we basically just want to see it running exactly that same way in Nativescript 7. And the first place to start would be in the source, the plugin source itself.
Okay, so we're going to head over to the source right here in this directory. I'm going to close down the demo page. So all this is the source code, and we're really probably interested in the package.json, right, Nathan?
It'd be the best place to start. I think you first want to get the dependencies updated there, right, and then you can work with all the latest. So
okay.
First dependency to look for in there is, if it's old enough, probably TNS core modules.
Yeah, I'm sure we have that here. Let's see. Oh, look at that. It's pretty old.
Pretty old.
All right. Yeah.
So you can update that to @nativescript/core, and you can point that at ~70.
Okay, 7.
And you know what? As a matter of fact, yeah. In fact, lock it to 7.0 for now. Let's just go straight 7.0.
Okay.
And then TNS platform declarations you can swap with at nativescript/types.
I like that.
It not only is a bit clearer, I think, in your package what that is, but it also, the usage of it is a bit more clear as well. And we'll show that in just a moment. So you can remove...
platform declarations is going away. Instead, we got NativeScript types. That's
TypeScript clean. Is the next important one to update. You want to make that 3.9 series. So you can use a tilde on that, actually. I think the last in that series was 3.9.7, which is fine. And we probably will bump to 4.0 pretty soon here too, but for now this is 3.9 series.
Okay.
That is all for your dependencies there. So now what you'd want to do is clear the source node modules if there was one. Make sure you clear a package lock, and in fact you can use let's clear it manually here inside a plugin. So we introduced an ns clean. However, you want to be careful with that in a plugin, and the reason being is you'll notice in this particular plugin there's a platforms folder. If you scroll up a little bit there, Alex, I think there is a platforms folder. There is. Now, ns clean is meant to be used in projects, not plugins, although we probably will adapt it to be used in plugins as well. But
so folks, just real quick before you get going too much into this, I want to make sure folks know what ns means. NS is the new version of TNS. Okay, so NS will be you'll see NS in some tutorials. You see a TNS, and I believe NSC was there as well for some of it. But NS is going to be the one going forward as far as the CLI command.
And all of those work. Keep in mind, and honestly, TNS will probably always be around just for historical reasons. So that's not going away. We'll probably just start talking and showing NS more just because it's simpler and kind of creates a new standard, just more NativeScript bound.
Right. And this is the ns clean command that you were talking about, right?
Do not run that.
I'm not going to run that. I'm not going to run that.
So again, just to remind, ns clean was introduced to help projects out there clean properly. One important thing it cleans that you don't want to have cleaned in a plugin is a platforms folder. Plugins generally keep a platforms folder committed to repos intentionally. That is there for a good reason. It can either be overriding Android or iOS behavior for the plugin, but that's something we do not want to go away in a plugin. So, but again, I think cleaning inside of a plugin, we'll show something next week where you don't need to clean in this same fashion, but we'll touch on that next week. So for now, let's just remove the node modules, and let's remove a package lock if there was one.
That package lock, it got me so many times.
The package lock can really bite if you're doing updates big time. So now what you probably want to do is install right inside there now. And actually, there's one other dependency we should add. Because this is a sheer manual raw update, this is really a good look at all the pieces that are needed that in a seed that we're going to introduce next week kind of handles for you. But it's good to see why and how in this process. So dev dependencies, we want to add ts-patch. And I think the latest version is 1.3, I think it is. So ts-patch and... Yeah, 1.3.0, perfect. Yeah, now go ahead and install those dependencies.
Now, one more thing I wanted to ask you is up here, we've got a couple of older versions of NativeScript platform. So what are we doing with this?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I mean, the platforms that are specified in here usually delineate the kind of lowest NativeScript version you want to support with the plugin. Since we're updating this one for NativeScript 7, and NativeScript 7 is the first big advancement in years, really, to build for ES 2017, we probably do want to target the 7.0 series here, because 7.0 and above is really the whole new JS standards-based NativeScript. So anything you're updating to 7, it's probably good to use 7 as your bottom line.
Okay, so I'm going to put 7s in both of these.
Worth noting that ES 2017 built plugins and libraries really doesn't affect the runtime any different, however. So it's important to note that the only thing that matters is the Nativescript core version that you use if you're going to start targeting higher ES, 2015, 2017, 2020, and that those higher targets. The runtimes really don't care so much. So again, you could even have 6 there. If you compile a Nativescript 7 compatible plugin, you can probably still use it in an older runtime just fine. But just for simplicity and clarity, we'll do everything 7 here.
Okay. So for those folks that don't know what the difference is between this and what we've put down here, these are the Nativescript modules. These are the core modules that have things like your buttons, your UI widgets, communicating with the device, the Android platform, the iOS platform. And these are your runtimes. These are also present in each of the demo applications that we have up here. And those are installed usually on demand whenever you run a project or when you build a project, but you can also add the runtimes independently. So here we have the platform specified, and in each of the demo applications, the platforms are specified as well, but we'll do that in a little bit. All right, so what's next?
So the next thing, so did you install yet?
No, I didn't run anything yet. Let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to run npm in the source folder. I'm going to run npm install, right?
Yeah. Yep. You can always check, depending on the plugin you're updating to, it's probably worth checking the npm scripts and see if there was a post install hook. A lot of plugin developers out there, just depending on the use case, they may have a post install script. Doesn't matter a whole lot, but if it does get in the way or interfere, you can pass a -- ignore scripts when you do an npm I, and that will ignore any post install, just like that.
Like this?
Yep. And I think it would be plural on there, ignore scripts. I believe that's the right flag. But just a note to keep in mind if for whatever reason you were updating a plugin or someone else's plugin and that interfered.
Gotcha. And these post-install scripts live, where do they live? Oh, inside the node modules, right, for some of the plugins?
Yeah. Plugin developers, a lot of them do it differently. They might put them in a scripts folder. They might actually be directly in the root of the plugin. Not a lot of them have post-install scripts, but like Firebase is an example. But yeah, just something to keep in mind.
Now, what about the TS config? Is that something we have to mess with, or is that going to stay the same? Because we have the target here as ES5.
We're going to update the TS config in just a moment, but there's one other dependency level thing we want to keep in mind. So TS patch, and we now have the latest dependencies installed. Is there a way to make that VS Code window a little bit bigger?
I can close this out. Does that help?
Yeah, that does help. So TS patch has an installer. And you want to make sure that TS patch actually does install, because TS patch actually does add behavior to TypeScript. So what's always nice to do for a plugin in this sense is actually add some type of setup script or something that runs that would automatically do npm I and ts-patch install. So let's go ahead and add one of those scripts here just to cover our bases. So if you scroll up in scripts, let's just, you can do it there. We'll call it setup, and I don't think there was a setup in here before. We'll do npm I.
Probably better to organize these, but I'll do that later.
Yep. Setup is kind of one of those fundamental starting scripts that kind of sets up any space for development, whether it's in a workspace setup or a singular plugin like this. So I always like to keep them at the top, but it's totally up to you. So
yeah. No, let's do that. Let's follow the recommended approach. All right, so there's setup.
And we'll notice that npm, the build script has npm I there. So we also had the potential to add it in npm run build. And a lot of plugins out there do have a build script like that. So we could optionally add it there, which would be fine as well. So in fact, since you have a build script there, and I'll bet that a lot of plugins out there have a similar build script like that, let's just add it there. So remove this setup script and we'll just stick with build. After
so what's the option?
After npm I, you're going to do the and symbol, and then it's going to be ts-patch install.
Like that?
Just like that, and do 2 and symbols after the npm I.
Oh, and yeah.
Yeah. And now you can just, we don't want to run a build just yet because we still need to update the source. But now we can turn our attention to tsconfig.
Okay. Let's head over there. tsconfig, TypeScript configuration.
So the first thing we want to do is update the target to ES 2017.
Whoa. Nice. That feels good.
Module can go ES next.
I feel like I'm from the future or something, like I time traveled.
It's refreshing.
Where's my DeLorean?
It's refreshing to work with something that's fresh, that's for sure. The next thing that you want to add is module resolution, and you want to set that to node. Perfect. Now that is fundamentally the tsconfig changes you want to make. Now you can also add 2017 in the libs list right there.
Instead of ES6, or in addition to?
You could replace ES6 with ES 2017, and that would be fine. You can also add it into. It's up to you and kind of how you want your TS libs loaded. But the next thing we want to do is add a plugins key in the tsconfig here. So you can add it just after the last key in compiler options there. It's a compiler option that we're going to add.
Oh, like in here.
Yep, it'll be plugins, and then this will equal an array. And let me make sure I tell you correctly here.
While you're looking that up, Henry says, what about the problem with HMR with an S7?
Yeah.
Thanks for your question, Henry.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for mentioning that. I'd say while we're updating this, the HMR, you may have differing experiences out there. We've seen it working in some projects and others it may not. We know HMR has not worked great in Angular projects in particular. And is why we are also looking at rewriting Angular from the ground up for Angular 11 to increase or improve the live sync story. But you might post in the comments where you're having trouble with HMR. Is it vanilla project or is it Angular? Is it a code sharing project and things like that? Let's see. So what we want inside of plugins is an object here, and the object is going to have a transform key. It'll be quoted standard JSON, so transform. And then this, we're actually going to end up installing Webpack in for our plugin just so we can use the transformer that comes from it. So the path here is going to be, you can do double quotes here. It'll be at Nativescript /Webpack /transformers /ns -transform -native -classes. That's actually plural. NS transform native classes. And then go ahead and do a comma after that last double quote right there. And the last key you want is the type. So this will be double quotes type, and the value will be a raw. So this is going to basically allow your TSC compilation to consume that transformer and apply those transformations to the plugin code. And this is what actually technically under the hood is allowing the native class decorator to do its job. And this is what allows ES 2017 and modern JS build code to work in the runtimes and still extend native classes as usual.
And we'll talk about native classes in more detail on this channel later on. There'll be a couple more videos about that for sure.
So now that that is in place, before we forget, we should add Nativescript Webpack to our dev dependencies. So you can just simply add that back or do an npm I save to dev, either way.
Let's keep this with, because it's a scoped package, so we'll keep it here.
In this, you can use tilde 3.00. Let me double check. I believe that's right. Yeah, that's right. Tilde 3.0. Perfect. So now you can just run a npm I again, and in fact, you might be able to just do npm run build at this point. We'll get some build errors, but this should actually run npm I, and it should actually run ts patch install, and then it will invoke tsc, and we should see plenty of juicy errors.
Those are good to see, right? Because now we want to see where we need to fix problems.
Yeah, and the problems are probably going to be easier to resolve than it may appear. TSC is always very chatty when it encounters errors, and that's a good thing because it can be very specific, but at the same time, it can look a lot scarier than it really is.
It's especially scary when you're coding and you hover over an error in your code editor.
Oh, definitely.
You get this big block that's a pop-up. Whoa.
TS errors are always panic-inducing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Almost always anxiety associated with any TS error.
Beeman says, I have issues with HMR in a clean 7 project. Happy to help debug. All right. Well, thanks for that.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. So it's almost done with the install, which means the next step it's going to do is the TS patch. There it is. And there you can see it prints TS patch was installed. And now we get our build errors. So even right away, for those that are watching, you probably immediately saw this and thought, oh man, we're in for a lot of trouble here. And that's what it looks like. Looks like a whole lot of trouble. So let's go to the first thing that we want to do back in the source. And let's take care of our types first.
Okay.
So let's go back to the references. And does this plugin have a references D?
It does.
It does. So a lot of those errors we're actually seeing in that log is actually due to this right here. Because if you remember, TNS platform decorations was removed. So we're just swapping that with @nativescript/types. And iOS, you can swap that with index. And just
remove this.
Yeah, it's going to be index.d.ts. And then you can remove Android. So by default, Nativescript types gives all the types that Nativescript supports, which is iOS and Android right now, although that could be macOS and Windows in the future. But
Nice.
Nativescript types is a convenient roll-up of all the typings for Nativescript, which includes iOS and Android. So that's just a simplified way to light up iOS and Android typings for Nativescript 7 and above.
That is beautiful. And even I even got IntelliSense here showing me. I think I did.
You generally will, yes. There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
There it is. That's nice. Okay,
So
so that takes care of that.
That takes care of that. The next thing we want to do is we want to update those TNS core module import paths. So the best way that I like to do that is just search the source directory, not for that specifically, but search for TNS core modules /. That's going to generally find all of the areas that we want to update. So we'll just take them one by one. They go pretty quick, quicker than you might imagine.
What about doing a global replace?
I would not recommend doing a global find and replace. The reason, and I'll tell you, part of the reason that we went with a singular barrel is because of things like this. There were so many different deep import paths off of TNS core modules that it created a broad inconsistency. on the way that people use them. And it just created a lot harder ways to update. So by reducing to a singular barrel, it should allow us to provide upgrade paths and auto migrations to projects without even having to worry about stuff like this in the future.
Nice. All right, so let's start with, well, we got a lot of TNS Core modules, but a lot of these are in the demo apps, which we need to upgrade as well.
Yep, you can take demos last. We'll just get our source building, and then we'll take a look at least the vanilla demo.
Okay, so here is one right there.
Yeah, so just flatten that to @nativescript core.
@nativescript
and
/core.
You can replace.
And here's where I can remove that, right?
You can remove it. Yeah. Now you can replace the application module with just the application import symbol. So this is just a pure ES 2017 symbol, totally tree shaking friendly, and it gives you all the things that star would have given you anyway. Now, before we go further, I would search for application module inside of here. And I like to search for application module as it was typed with a dot on the end. And that way you can do a find and replace inside here safely. So for instance, do a find off of that. There's only one anyway. But you can replace that with capital application and just replace that, and you're done and can move to the next one.
That was clean. Okay, so application module is replaced with capital A application.
Yep.
Great.
Now, the rest of these we're going to take one by one. Platform module, go ahead and search for platform module dot.
There it is.
Perfect. So in a search for the rest of them, we'll see if it's all is iOS. We've got one is Android and the other is iOS. So an interesting point I'll make here is that in the new Webpack configs with projects, we added a global handler for iOS and Android off global. So there's two ways to go when you're using the is iOS or is Android. You can use global.isiOS without even importing is iOS or is Android if you want. The advantage to doing that is that the new Webpack configs will automatically strip all conditional code that's wrapped in those globals. This includes core modules itself. So core modules has those conditionals in it too. And when you build iOS against Nativescript 7 and you're building for just iOS, it's going to strip all the Android conditional stuff out for you automatically. Now, as a plugin developer, you can gain that same bonus by just replacing that with global. And these are just globals that are available in the project. So just do global dot there.
So instead of platform module, I'm going to say global dot.
Yep. And then you can do the same.
And this will this whole block will automatically be stripped out by Webpack?
It's automatically going to be stripped out and removed when you run this plugin in any project on Android.
That is cool. Wow. So this whole block is not going to be deployed with my code. That is beautiful.
It's a nicety, especially in large projects that did a lot of conditional hooking, which is understandable. There are cases where conditional hooking is totally fine. You know, what I always like to recommend is if you're doing a whole lot of iOS or a whole lot of Android specific code, it's nice to split those in files. But you're still always going to have some conditional hooks here and there. So yeah, using global like that is just automatically going to strip those out.
Just gets rid of that line altogether.
Yep. So frame module, let's just search for frame module dot.
Don't tell me frame module is global too.
No, this one now comes from the static frame class. So you can just change that to frame.
So we can actually import that from core, I believe, right?
That's
directly
right.
from core.
And in fact, if you had just typed it down there, I believe it would have probably picked it up and auto-imported it for you.
Probably. Let's do that. I like VS Code for that. So let's do frame here. Does it already know? I thought it gave me a little icon to import it. There it is. add. There we go. And one more somewhere. Here it is. Frame. That's it. Takes care of that. HTTP response is coming from the HTTP module.
So HTTP response, now you can import a roll-up of all the HTTP stuff just simply called HTTP. So just import the HTTP symbol here. And that gives you a collection of all that stuff. So if we search for HTTP response, I think it was, yeah, do HTTP dot, and either the Zoom or your connection, it might just be being a bit slow. And HTTP response and HTTP request might be pure interfaces, and yes, that's right. So you can actually import those symbols directly. So HTTP response should be available there. There we go.
There it is.
Yeah. We've been kind of debating whether or not that becomes part of the rollup as well, which it probably will in the future, but you can totally use that symbol as is.
Okay. So that's, we've gotten, I think we had 4 lines to begin with, and we converted that to 1 line. That's pretty nice.
So that cleans up that one. Let's see what we got left.
What do we got here? I need to do my search again. So we got an index.d.ts file here.
Now, what you can do here, instead of duplicating so much of your upgrade work, you can go back to the file we just updated and copy that line, because it was already using at least 2 symbols from what we just did.
Do you remember what that file was?
I think it's this. I think it's this one right here. Just close your search box right there. I think it's just covering up line number 1.
Ah, yes, indeed.
Just copy that and paste that in your index there, and we can just remove the application import.
So this one is an interesting one because I have a reference line at the top. I have all these other imports. But let's try removing these. Is WebView also exposed here through core modules?
Yep, everything is exposed in that module there. So I think you probably want to bring in load event data though.
That was something. Ah, yes. All right.
Now the reference line that you have at the top there, fairly non-standard usage there. What would be better is to actually strip that from here. So remove that reference path and actually drop that in your references.d. Yeah, you can drop.
Keep the references together.
Perfect.
Okay, so we have a few places to do. How do we, is there a sweeping thing we can do to take care of all of them? Or we gotta just go one by one here?
Yeah, generally with these import paths, and it depends on the plugin. Some plugins are pretty standard in the way that they import. This one in particular has some fairly non-standard, like in one place you imported star as application module, but in this one it's import star as app module. So like again, this kind of strikes back as to why we're moving to a singular barrel, because we really want to get away from all this non-standard and varied usage everywhere.
Okay, now I came across this, which is interesting. So this was an app module, but it was Android application.
So you can.
But let me guess, you expose that here, don't you?
Yes.
Haha. That was a lucky guess. Okay, I don't need these two here. Let's get rid of that. And that's, you're right, this was much faster.
Yeah, it's it actually goes pretty fast, especially because most plugins use a lot of the same symbols throughout.
Okay, so we do have some interesting stuff here with Objective-C class.
So this is exactly the type of class that you want to drop the native class decorator on. So the order does not matter, and you can have multiple decorators on a class. So you can basically drop the @native class decoration underneath that or above it, doesn't matter.
Okay, is this something that's going to be available just like that?
Yep.
Globally, ambient?
Yep.
Is that how they call it?
Yes, the native class decorator is global with Nativescript Core 7 installed.
Okay. And at which point do we need to use the native class? Is this when we extend a native UI class or native iOS or Android class?
Any native iOS or Android class is where you want to do it.
Okay. Okay. And what about this one? Do we still need that one?
So this is a good point for all plugin developers out there. One thing we are going to do with the native class decorator is try to simplify all of the decorators that were there. Core had provided a number of different decorators, all of which are fairly confusing, and they're hard to remember. There's another decorator, I think, called Objective-C methods. I think there's one called Objective-C params or something like that. There's Java proxy. There's all these different ones, and they're really hard to remember. So we are actually going to consolidate all that down to one single native class decorator to do everything that all of those did. So basically do more with less. But for now, the native class decorator, you can just add alongside those. Those decorators will still do their job. And once we have the option block for the native class decorator, we can then take just one more nice step forward to even clean that further.
Okay, now on Android side, I don't think I am actually extending a native class here, so I don't need that here. I'm just using the application events here.
Scroll down just a little bit down there on the bottom. Yep, no native class extension here, so you're good. Moving on.
Good to go. All right, we took care of this. We took care of, I think, everything in the delegate folder.
While you're in there, in that delegate folder, open that back up. Open that package that's in there. You don't need that. You can just delete that.
Whoa. You sure?
Oh, yeah. So those package JSONs are a relic of a past time that is long since past. That's a common JS thing. Generally, what that was used for is a common JS require that would require and look for a package in the folder that was being required, and it would look for the main key in that package in order to resolve the right main. And it was often used in Nativescript a lot because of the Android and iOS suffix. But now with ES 2017 beyond, it reduces all of that noise.
I feel so clean already. This is going to be great. My plugin is going to be up to date. So we don't need this one either, I bet.
Correct. You can kill that.
Let's delete that.
Now, one thing I probably would do while you're in here, though, is I would make your type definitions in those folders your index.d. So index in modern TS land is resolved automatically whenever you import from a folder. So it's a really nice practice to use indices inside folders because it reduces one extra level of import pathing, especially with.
But you're talking about index.ts, not index.d.ts, right?
Well, .d is going to give you the typings there. And then while you're in there, I would even reduce the delegate iOS and delegate Android to index as well so it matches.
So this would stay a .d.ts?
That's right, because that is an export declare. So the export declare is just, that's basically what's giving the TypeScript IntelliSense that symbol when you do the IntelliSense in the IDE.
Okay, and
TSC is also using it, of course, when it does its type resolution and it's compiling. But you can reduce those to index as well. So the advantage with that is that, again, it's going to resolve automatically to index inside the folder. And so you can standardize this across these cases here.
Would that be a .android and .iOS extensions?
That's correct.
Interesting, okay.
Now, the reason that works is because the index.d is the one that's actually giving the type resolution. And then when it compiles down to JS, when NativeScript runs it, it strips the suffix on the platform you're running, which becomes the automatic index that's resolved automatically through Webpack and ES27 or ESM imports.
Nice. All right, so I guess we got to do the same thing here as well.
Yep,
right?
I'd do the same thing there. Drop it to index. And drop the typings there as well. Now, it's worth stating that this plugin is a little more complex than a lot of plugins that are out there. A lot of plugins don't even have a folder structure like this, so this is a good use case to see at least the broad edge cases with updating.
I'm glad I came up with an edge case.
For sure. Let's look in scripts right there. You can delete that.
Yeah.
That is not needed here.
Delete that. This is definitely going to be a major version.
Most definitely. The types, you can probably leave that.
Okay.
And then were there any import paths inside providers that we need to update there? We might just go back to our global search.
No. Doesn't look like it. But we'll check the global as well. I just want to go through these right here. This is just utility functions. Okay. We have a few other things here. These are all JavaScript code.
There's one.
Here we go. TNS core modules.
Drop that the NativeScript core and just import the HTTP symbol.
Okay. And this was used in a few places. So we're using the same thing here. We need to import HTTP response as well.
Yeah, there's a PR that's actually posted on core where I'm doing some other typing cleanups. One of the things that had been in core a long time was a lot of overloading of types, modules, and namespaces. And so we're trying to get away from that because it's not quite as clean. And we're trying to provide types that are actually pure types that you can import and use off a rollup and have them distinguishedly named aside from the actual module rollup. And without getting too technical, all that means is that we'll just have a cleaner symbol set to work with and not so much confusion overload.
That looks pretty good. Well, we got one more straggler here. This is just HTTP response. And this one is done. Oh, we got a few here.
Those are easy to
Go and copy
update because
this.
those are direct symbols. You probably don't even have to update code for those.
So frame is coming from core. That's good.
You had both of them there already. You just needed to remove one symbol.
Yeah, you know, it's late over here. But some folks I saw are watching this at 2 a.m. So I appreciate you all coming to check this out. It's much later over there, wherever you guys are. Okay. Are we almost done here? Oh, whoa. This one.
That one's not bad. Now here's what I like to do in this case. In fact, let me
Yeah.
take mouse control for a sec.
Okay, let's see. Try that out.
Okay, perfect. So this is what I like to do. Oh, is it going to let me type? Little wonky through screen share always, but
Yeah.
now that we have this, what you can do is you can just take all these and drop them right up here.
Drag and drop.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't work for you.
It does not, but if you want to drag all those up, most of those are all the symbols that we want anyway, except for line 3, but we'll deal with line 3 last. So we can just take all those, drop them up. And navigation button there, and then you can, I think the last one that was bringing in was is Android, but actually delete is Android. We'll switch that one to global as well.
We also need Android application, it looks like.
Yeah, that one will just be application.android.
Oh, I somehow deleted the from statement here. Okay. And let's get these global.
That one I think you can switch to application.android.
Yeah, you're right. And there we go.
There we go. We're probably getting close to the end here, I would imagine. Same deal on this one. You could probably, I would convert that frame one to NativeScript core since the symbol's already there. You can copy and paste too. I have found myself copy and paste the import lines like that a lot too, and then just removing the symbols that are not used, especially if you see symbols that are already being brought in or needed. But yeah, color module, you'll want color there because that's probably all that's being used.
So let's go check out what's used here. Application is used.
Color module, you can just remove that.
Color.
Yep.
And that was much quicker.
Nice. Just
so
one,
got one here.
One to flatten. That one is just a single one, so that's simple.
Now, this one is not actually complaining. Is it because it's a d.ts?
Yes, and it's probably because it could be the TS config excludes or includes, but it also could be VS Code just being a little slow.
And frame. Yes.
Nice.
Oops. Did I just close that? Come on. No way.
Hopefully it auto-saved.
There we go. And it remembers where I was. Very nice. I think of that as like a nice necessary refresh. Sometimes I have to restart VS Code. Wow. This way. It's done for me. Why is my reformatting not happening? There we go. Okay. So
now you want to update some.
I'm not sure how that picked up.
Yeah, I think there was a couple lines you probably want to update there. Authorization code is something you should fix because I think that was a const. It probably should be a let. No, it is a let. What's it complaining about? It probably wants a specific type QS object. Oh, you can either cast it to a string or you can just make sure the QS object is any, since that's parsing just a generic object. Either way.
You know, I'm going to have to probably take a look at the typings a little bit later, just to make sure everything is good to go there. So
yeah, just HTTP response. And I think there was one lowercase HTTP dot in there somewhere. Search for HTTP dot. unless
I
the
think
dot
maybe
was hanging off of a second line, which it could have been. If you don't find it here, we'll just run it and see what build errors we get. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's good to go. Let's just take that out. Okay, did we get everything? I think we got everything.
It's looking like it.
Henry says skip libcheck is false. That's why linter doesn't work on d.ts files.
Yeah, that's a good. Thanks for
okay.
mentioning that. Exactly
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Hey, Shiva is here. Hey, Shiva. Good to see you.
Hey, Shiva. So.
Okay, let's try running this.
Yeah, let's go ahead and try to run it. We have no idea what state we're in, but this will tell us.
This will tell us. That's why TypeScript is good, Shiva. Shiva loves his JavaScript.
One of the things most likely I would guess is that delegate import. We might have to. It just. Well, no. Can you believe that it actually built? Isn't that amazing?
Wow, no TypeScript errors.
No TypeScript errors. So just so everyone on the call realizes, we had a wall of TypeScript errors there, and we did a couple consistent updates. It really was not bad at all, and we have a clean build in ES 2017 now.
That's beautiful. And I also love to see this line right here. I don't know why. It just makes me feel good.
Yeah. That is a good feeling.
It's always good to have 0 vulnerabilities. So that's good. We've updated the plugin, but it's still no way to test it unless we change one of these demos, right?
Not so fast. Not so fast.
Uh-oh.
Now, this is what will bite most plugin developers, and that is we're seeing right here in front of us, line 14 doesn't have a native class decoration. Now, if you end up building that, compiling it, you're running it in your demo and nothing works, the most likely candidate of something like that with no errors in the console, no build errors, it just simply doesn't work, you might be missing a native class decorator on a plugin that's extending a native class. This is a great example. So line 14, add the native class decoration.
Good catch.
Now, what I like
I guess you've been doing this lately a few times, haven't you?
Done this a few times lately, but you should check. I would search the source directory. There's a couple extends that I like to look for in all plugins that I update. Extends NS object is one. And there's one right there. That's probably the one we just added. Yep. Now also search for extends UI. And I think that one we did already decorate. Yep, we're good there. Yep. Now also search for extends Java. Okay, good. And then also extends Android. None of those. Those are the 4 key ones I like to look for. Now, you still could have some others, but those are the most common. Those are extended a lot.
Okay. Well, let's, besides that, is there anything else we should watch out for in the source of the plugin?
No, the source is good as is. That's the main thing. We've taken care of the imports. We've cleaned that up. We've cleaned up some of the file structure while we're at it. Let's look at the package one more time inside the source directory. Let's take a look at the way that is set up.
Now, it did recreate this, I noticed, with the old references in here, which is not making me happy. Oh, I thought I saw TNS core modules in there. I guess not.
Yeah, I think your package lock did update.
Okay, good.
So inside here, let's see. Scroll up to the top. And let's see. So main is pointing at OAuth and our typings are index. Yeah, that should be fine. So I think we're ready to try this. I would go ahead and bump the major version to 3.0 just while we're looking at it here. Since this will be a major version. And then let's build it one more time. Do npm run build, and then we'll go ahead and we'll update our demo, the vanilla demo, at least on this call. We won't do the other demo updates because I think that'll cover it for
vanilla should be fine.
But yeah, we'll do one last build to make sure we're all set. Now, I'll mention while this is happening, What we're about to do in a moment is something that I never wish upon anyone that they have to do more than once. I'm a big fan of code sharing and singular source of truth. When we talk source of truth in a plugin, well, we've got two source of truth that are happening here in this plugin structure. We've got the package JSON that's in source, which is our plugin is being built against those dependencies in that package. And we have a second source of truth, which is in our demo, which means we have to maintain and update two sources of truth instead of one. Next week, we're going to show, and we're going to do another live stream, I believe, Alex, if that's correct.
Yep.
And we're going to show an improvement to the structure that actually makes it simpler and also reduces a lot of overhead and labor involved with updating plugins. And it'll be a setup that we'll be moving ahead. We're already using with plugins we're maintaining now, but we want to share it with everyone else who's maintaining plugins too that can gain the same benefits. So we'll share that next week, but this has been good to cover this ground because this describes kind of technically what's involved with the update, and then it will help show, I think, how this new structure improves this next week. So now what we want to do is a lot of what we just did, which is we actually want to update the dependencies here. So we want to take TNS core modules out, and we want to replace that with Nativescript core 7.0.
Okay.
Let's see, we've got the OL2 there, that's fine. Let's see, dev dependencies. We want to switch Nativescript dev Webpack to, actually, you know what? We have a better option. Right inside of that demo, navigate into that folder and just run ns migrate. And one thing that we forgot to mention is that anyone who is updating should, number one, install the latest CLI. So really npm i-g Nativescript will install the latest version, which is 7.06. You're probably fine on 7.
I'm behind.
I would go ahead and I would update to the latest. Actually, I think the latest is even 7.07. There's been a lot of improvements that have happened with the CLI in 7, but there's daily improvements almost happening to the CLI at this point. So things are getting nicer around migrate and also just detecting different project structures and that sort of thing. So 7.07 has got a lot of nice little improvements under the hood.
And the migrate command has really improved since 7 came out through a couple of versions, and now it's much better even, right?
It is. Migrate is something we're going to start using more and more. It had always, I'll say that not a lot of us had used it in practice in the past, and because there was some edge cases it didn't handle. But we are looking to actually really drastically overhaul migrate and make it a really dependable thing in the tool chain to use to update not only projects, but probably even plugin workspaces as well, which we'll talk about more next week.
Look at that.
There you go.
All those variants work, and we're at 7.07. Okay, so let's try that migrate command.
Let's give it a shot.
ns migrate. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, let's see. I'm nervous.
I'm nervous too, actually.
Are you nervous?
I'm nervous.
You're nervous?
Oh yeah, you do want to have a clean branch. That's actually good. It gives you that warning. You could probably, I would commit the changes you've made already because you've done a lot of the steps already. And then we'll just migrate from a clean git state.
Let's go ahead and push that. Okay, let's run the migrate command one more time. I love a nice checklist. Igor, by the way, shout out to him for doing a lot of the work on the migrate command. Nice job on that.
Yeah, Igor's done a great job. Igor Rangelovich, for any of you that don't know him, but yeah, he's done a great job. So this right here, actually, I believe, yeah, it looks like there is a syntax error. It's probably picking up inside of the package JSON. So, and it does look like there is invalid syntax there. Open up the project there, and let's take a look. Go down into the script section there. And yeah, it's not liking those probably unescaped strings that are there. So let's do this. Strip out all the scripts. Just remove all those scripts right there. And go ahead and save that, and then just run nsmigrate again. You might have to commit that package change just because that probably did give you one git change set there.
Now it did do some changes. Should I just undo it and start over?
Yeah, you could actually. I would kill. Yeah, I would revert everything except for the package cleanup of scripts, or you can just redo it and commit.
Cleaning up package scripts in demo.
All right.
Let's give that a shot.
Yeah, go ahead and give it a run again.
All right, any questions while that's happening? Pedro says, would be nice to share this as a repo example later. This is, of course, open source, so it is available out there, and I will send a link here in a second.
It's still picking up. It looks like it's still picking up the old package for some reason. Is it? Did you actually save or commit that?
I did commit it.
Is there another line that's in there? Because yeah, it's actually referencing that CI key right there.
Huh. You're right, it is, and that's not here. Is there another package somewhere?
Yeah, so this is a really good use case because this plugin was pretty old. It was on a pretty old version, so this is definitely a good edge case to look at here. Yeah, check tsconfig. Just cover the bases there, pop around in a few files, and see if you see mention of that CI, because it looks like it's still picking up that tslint from somewhere.
Now we do have a tslint on the outside package JSON file.
You know what? Maybe
in the source, but that shouldn't matter.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, it could interfere.
I think we have some here. Yeah, right there. Could that be it?
I wouldn't think so, but this is a good one for Igor to look at, I'd say for sure. See if that's the exact line right there. npm tslint config. It's not the exact same line because yeah, it doesn't look like the same line to me. It's slightly different. It's very similar though. Are you sure you removed the migration backup folder there? I think
I don't think I removed that. Maybe it's picking that up.
Yeah, something doesn't look like it got a clean run there for sure.
I'm gonna undo this again, and I'm gonna make sure that that migration folder is gone. I mean, let's do that. Okay, I'm gonna also delete the package log.
Yeah, it's good.
Just in case.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Go ahead and open.
All right. Is this new?
No, I think that was there. That's something that Migrate is going to remove, though. Go ahead and open the package though before you run that, Alex. And then remove this. Let's see, scripts is totally removed. Okay, yeah.
I did save that.
Okay.
I saved that.
Yeah, let's give it a shot one more time. And if this doesn't work, we will actually manually migrate it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions here? Dean is here. Hey, Dean. Good to see you again. He's asking, is Migrate using some sort of schematics library under the hood?
It's not. It is not, actually. It's just pure Node.
So there you go, Dean. Let me just go ahead and commit the change of removing the package lock file.
We might use a schematic package in the future. There's a possibility of that. There is some nice use cases, I'd say, with catching different conditions and also easily managing file trees in some schematic package. So it's possible we might use some of that in the future.
All right, this is our last opportunity, and then we're going to do a manual one.
So
Be able to update.
Yeah, so I'm glad we captured this because this is a great case for Igor. But let's manually migrate this. So we've done a lot of manual migration here anyway. So I probably should have not gone down the NSMigrate path just so everyone can see everything that migrate would do anyway. So the migrate is failing on something what appears to be a parse or an unescaped string, and it's coming from some CI key there from some package. So let's actually go to the package first, and let's at least change the dependencies there like we did in our plugin itself. So that's on 7. Let's see, we've got that package there. You can also update Typescript right there to 390 down at the very bottom.
Nativescript dev Webpack, right?
Nativescript dev Webpack you can remove. That's going to become at Nativescript Webpack, and that'll be 3.0. You can use tilde on that.
And we're removing this one.
Yep, you can remove TS loader. And let's see. The rest.
What about the Nativescript CSS loader?
You can remove that.
And
let's see. The rest looks okay. I think you could leave the rest as is. In the TS config, let's go ahead and bump that to ES 2017.
Should I just delete these platforms right here, the runtimes?
You can actually.
It's going to get regenerated.
Yes, you can delete those. You can also grab that ID. Just copy that ID to the clipboard and then delete the Nativescript key altogether. And in fact, you can replace it with a main key. So we went with a more JavaScript standard where packages define their own main. And the main in this case would be app.js because that's going to be the entry point for the app.
Mm-hmm.
So now go to TS config and let's update that. And just change the target ES 2017. The module is going to be ES next. And then add module resolution node. And you can actually get rid of those node module star paths. Those are not needed anymore. That's for really old TNS core module stuff, like actually very old. You do not need that.
And the libs, right? ES 2017 here.
Yep, you can do that. The rest of that looks okay. Yeah, that looks fine. You can delete the tns.json. That's not needed. That's only used today in shared, these Nativescript schematic shared projects, not in XPlat projects, but just in Nativescript Nativescript/schematics projects. Those are the only ones that today use that TNS JSON still. And that probably will change in the future just to go back to a single JSON. But yeah, you don't need that anymore. So let's see, package, let's add Nativescript types to the package there. We'll just make sure those are brought in because I think you have a references D, so we'll at least use some types here. We'll do.
I didn't think I used that, but.
And let's update our references to use those. And actually, the TypeScript version, use a tilde on that while you're in there.
Oh. This one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, the references we can just update for NativeScript types and index.
It's probably not picking it up because we didn't install node modules yet.
Well, that path is wrong. Oh. The path is wrong. It's got to be relative to node modules. And we haven't installed dependencies yet, but you want to remove the / source. Yeah, and I think put a dot in front of that. I think it's probably better to use a relative path on that. So let's see, TS config's updated, package is updated. Now let's go inside the app itself. And we're going to manually migrate to Nativescript config here so you can actually see what's involved there. So that embedded package JSON, the one that's right there, we're going to, oh, that's actually,
whoa, that's where it is.
That's where it was. So by the way, this is a,
although this is not line 48 either.
No, this is really actually a bizarre setup.
I
actually have seen no plugins or apps with that kind of setup to date.
Wow.
So that explains that. So this is probably just some old relic of a very old pastime. But
let me guess, we're going to delete this one, aren't we?
Well, we are, but before you delete it, let's just see. You could probably delete the whole.
Come on, I really want to delete it. I just want to delete
it. Just delete it.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Just delete it.
Okay. We're deleting it.
So
gone.
Right next to references D, create a new file called nativescript.config.ts. I think you're creating that in the wrong place, but we'll move it. Yeah.
Should it be on the?
It should be
outside in the root of the folder.
It should be at the root. Yeah, Nativescript config lives
at the root.
Lives at the root.
Okay. So not inside app, it lives in the root.
That's right.
Okay.
It's kind of parallel to Webpack config and meant to be consistent in that regard. So from here, we probably want to install dependencies first, because if we install dependencies, we'll actually get the strong type checking to type out this config anyway. So probably go ahead and do an npm I inside the demo.
Yeah. Now, folks, this is a nativescript config.ts file, not a JSON file, and that has some benefits, right?
Yes. The TS and JSON, the reason we went with that approach is, number one, it can be strongly typed, which is quite a bit nicer than JSON generally, even though there is some ways to do strong type on JSON. But the other reason is comments. JSON files, of course, are not super friendly with code comments, and it's nice for teams to be able to comment in their own configs. But also it gives the opportunity to do callbacks. So in the future, we could also simplify some bits around the runtimes and hooks in some of the way hooks are used, and actually use direct, strongly typed callbacks inside the config itself. It also gives the opportunity to do some powerful things like hook-ins into the CLI itself and the runtimes, and at least runtime configurations through callbacks. So there's definitely some neat opportunities that doing a configuration that's either JS and even better strongly typed TS gives us.
Right. So we are about to fill that out, but is there anything we can do while it's installing?
You could go ahead and start typing it out manually here. It's going to be import Nativescript config from Nativescript core.
I would have IntelliSense here, but now I don't. And it's a capital Nativescript config, right? like that.
That's it. Now you can go ahead and do export default here, and we're just going to export.
There we go. It finished.
Nice. And it'll just be an object right here. So this is just the wide open default export. Inside here, we'll do ID. And actually at the end on line 5 right there, you can do as Nativescript config, and that's actually what's going to give us the strong type checking. Yeah, as Nativescript config.
So now if I press Control Space here, I'll get all these nice little settings here.
The first thing I'd set's the ID. I don't know if you still have that copied to your clipboard, but I think it was org.nativescript.demo anyway, so you could just set that.
Doesn't matter. It's a demo.
Yeah. The next one, go ahead and add Android. And the one thing every NativeScript app does want is one particularly important Android runtime flag, and that is, I think it's expose GC. Let me make sure I get the right key.
Can anybody guess?
It's actually
while Nathan's grabbing that.
It's going to be an object, Alex. So do an object there, and the key is V8 flags. And you get the.
I bet Shiva would have gotten it.
Now, first of all, Alex, you got strong type checking there, and you still typed it wrong. So that's quite a feat.
Okay. Let's see. There it is.
And you can use double quotes there, but there'd be no reason to. It's just a key. That is going to be a string, and inside the string is --expose _GC. And then the next option I would put in Android, always by default, and all default Nativescript 7 projects have these flags set, is just marking mode to none.
I love that. I never knew what to type in there. I had to always look it up, and now.
Now the other thing,
right.
Actually, you can probably leave it just like that, and I think that's all you need. That's a bare bones Nativescript config right there.
Very nice.
So
this will automatically be picked up at build time and compiled in.
Yeah, in fact,
we
don't even compile it. We actually just use that to read configuration settings for runtime.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't affect your actual bundled code. It doesn't get bundled in with your code. It's actually just a nice way to do configuration.
Nice, very nice. So that's the configuration. Now we just probably need to update the code. And I see a new file here that was added.
That's coming from Nativescript Webpack. And that gave you the latest Webpack config.
And that was automatically generated when I did an Npm install of the Nativescript Webpack.
That's correct. Yeah, Nativescript Webpack will post install. Check if you have one, and it will add one if you don't. If you already have one, it won't replace it.
So yeah, basically the same stuff here, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is going to be really small set of changes here. That's just. And you're doing it really the hard way, Alex, but that's fine.
That's how I like to do it. I always do it the hard way. What's the easy way?
Probably just to switch the import. The symbol in the import was already there. You just change the import barrel.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's try the easy way.
Yeah, so like those, just
here.
change the barrel to Nativescript core, and then drop your event data symbol down one, and you're done.
Boom. Love it. And probably something here. Yep.
Yep. And that you can just bring in the application symbol and then just update the application on line 7. And that is it for that. That right there looks okay. I think you're set. What I would do at this point, and it usually doesn't take long to update demos in general, but again, you did a little bit more work there than really is ideal. We had already updated package dependencies once, So next week when we show something around this new seed, it'll help that reduce the labor down to just one instead of having to do that twice.
Yeah.
So let's first inside demo run nsclean.
All right, so back to my terminal here.
And this is more just a best
clean.
practice thing. We're about to run it for the first time. We do have a built version of the source that's over there. So this is more just best practice, making sure we're in a clean state to run it for the first time. Okay, now just do ns debug iOS, let's say, and we can just do it against if you don't have an iPhone plugged in, you can just run it like this. Otherwise, it may prompt what device, but you can do the -- emulator flag if you want to force the emulator.
Now, I always just not have, when I start off developing, I never have my device plugged in, but it always brings up the emulator anyway without the emulator flag.
Okay, that's good.
This should work, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the same manner. All right, so there it is, searching for devices. It should bring up my simulator. Richard is here. Richard, good to see you. Yep, even folks that have been working with Nativescript for a while still struggle once in a while. Yep, Pedro says it's really tricky with that package.json file. It sure is. I'm glad we got to delete it.
Yeah, that was an interesting setup. I could only think maybe that package accidentally got some data in there from some time ago and just kind of had some odd stuff in there, or perhaps something went maybe something went awry with that package and someone tried to run npm install from inside the app directory, and maybe that actually tried to add dependencies to. Yeah,
that's somebody, whoever that was.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I have to find that person.
It's hard to say. I have not seen that, but that's a great case, because honestly that's the case we can solve with Migrate too. So we'll make a note of that, and we'll at least have it cover a case like that. I think it was probably just trying to parse the JSON and hitting an unescaped string.
Mm-hmm. Although that line number was 48 in the error message, which still makes me wonder. We did a global search for that line number and couldn't find anything on line 48. But I'll play around with that a little bit more, see how I can get the migrate command. I'm planning to do the migrate command here as well. We're going to cover that in a few videos as the migrate command gets more developed, and it should help out a few folks. So make sure you check out those videos that are going to be coming up. And we're going to be doing more live streams here as well. I know we're going quite a bit long today. It's been an hour and a half, so I really appreciate everybody sticking here. And Nathan, thanks for spending some time doing this.
My wife is going to kill me, but yes. No, I'm the good thing is that at least this has covered a lot of fringe cases. So yeah,
good.
That right there is probably an import path that just needs to be updated there, most likely, but we can check that in just a minute.
This right here?
Yeah, not found in TNS iOS native view. It's coming from auth service. So yeah, you probably want to make sure that the index exports that. It's acting like that symbol it's looking for is not in the OAuth file there.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually may cause the plugin to not work. It depends. Sometimes Webpack may throw an error like that. Depending on the way it's imported, it actually may not affect runtime code. That's why it's a warning and not an error. But usually it's good to clean up warnings like that if you see them, because it could be indicative of something else that probably you want to fix anyway. But we'll at least see if it runs here.
Dean says, I like this format, guys. Thank you. Yeah, this is definitely an interesting format. It's a lot of pressure, and we usually do simple demos. This one's not a simple one for sure. So that's why it's taking a little bit extra time to do this.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dean. And thanks to Alex for hosting these, because I do think this is a better way to see, I think, fringe cases. I think that's always the trouble when someone goes and attempts something on their own, is they'll run into, an issue, a pitfall that just wasn't covered in a video. And so, yeah, you can always kind of run into that. So yeah, cannot read property, that is init with client. So this is coming from, it probably is related to that warning that was given there, but you can see it's auth service 70. So we can probably look at auth service 70 first.
Oh, auth service.
Yeah, it's probably,
that's actually here.
Yep. Let's look at 70 and just see which one it's calling first. Right there. So it's
TNS.
It's initiating TNS run client there. So let's actually go inside of that, which I think is coming from OAuth TS. So we can go to the next stack there. Go back to the stack trace. And we want to go to OAuth.ts and the plugin itself, line 45. Nice. Okay. So TNS OAuth login controller, login native view controller. Let's see where that's coming from. Is that being imported?
So this is imported from here.
Okay. Yeah. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that import right there. And that's the D file. So that's just a declare. So now actually go to the implementation file.
So that would be iOS, and that has a native class on it.
Yep. Go ahead and, yeah, the window could be a little bit bigger, but I don't think you can make it any bigger than it is. So go ahead and click on the actual compiled JS for a moment. So actually look at the iOS JS, the one above it probably. And let's see. Yeah, that looks okay. And the init with client is there. So what you could probably do is print out the native view controller inside of your constructor, and let's just see if it's actually got a proper instance. This could be related to the index flattening that we did, and we might not have updated a path somewhere to reflect that change that we made. So I know there was a delegate folder at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll up just a little bit there.
That's where this delegate lives. No, not this one.
Go to where that's called, and let's print out and see what we got there. So yeah, back over.
Do you want to drive again?
Yeah.
Do you want to try driving again?
Let's see if I can. It's always a little bit laggy. Okay.
All right, there you go.
So we got this.
Wilmer, can I ask a question that is not related to the update of the plugin? Well, go ahead. Please do ask.
Well, there's, okay. So there is a couple interesting things here, but let's take a look at what we have here. And we're also going to take a look at what type it is. See, I may also want to look at this right here. The error is saying that that static property is not available. So I just want to confirm that that is indeed the case.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to do here now, this is, so let's see, it looks like it picked up that change, but I don't think it's going to build. I think I know what's happening actually. So this is something you want to be careful about, and this is why we are going a different direction on plugin setup. So you're pointing at a source directory there. That source directory is picking up a TS change, but it's probably not building it with the transformer. Because if you remember, the transform is actually only on the plugin source. That's not the TS config that the app itself is using. So it's something to keep in mind. In this type of plugin structure, it's a little bit more arduous to make sure that you get this right, because is this the right folder?
You want to go to CD Nativescript OAuth.
Okay.
And then source. Yep.
Let's run a build here. And in fact, this is kind of slightly a problem with pointing to source from that type of structure, just because it's going to try to probably compile and handle that source when we actually want it to just deal with just the JS. But we'll see if we can get past this. And if we can't in the next 10 minutes, we'll probably follow up with a video with the solution, because I'm going to have to go pretty soon, unfortunately.
Yep.
But let's see. So from here, let's just run this.
Oh, you're pushing buttons over there, and I'm also typing. Oops. Sorry about that. That was my bad.
That's all right.
I'm trying to type an answer here. So, coordinator layout. Is Nativescript going to support coordinator layout? So, I mean, with these kinds of extra native APIs, you can always reach out to them through the through the Android APIs directly. I don't know if there's actually a plan to support any other layouts, because most of the things can be done with the existing layouts. Why would you need that coordinated layout? There's a little bit of a delay before Wilmer gets my audio.
Go ahead to your simulator, Alex.
All right. There it is. Let's try pressing that button.
And
got a crash.
Should have our logs here. So let's take a look. Can you scroll up in the log? I'm getting no interaction. Okay, so yeah, it's not even seeing the login native view controller. So yeah, this is probably a result of it's either the flattening or the changing of the name that we went from delegate to index. It could be affecting an import there. I think we did it in 2 places. So I'd probably just want to confirm. We were kind of doing that on the fly, which I normally probably would not do without kind of being at the wheel and really understanding the plugin before. So we're kind of going on the fly. But I think we probably want to check that path. And we also just want to check the import around this controller, because that controller is just not being imported correctly there. And it could be a result of 2 or 3 things but most likely something that we change with the path there. So let's do this. Let's follow up on a video with the solution here. You might take a screenshot of this right here so we can post a follow-up video with this screenshot being the lead, so we know what context we're starting from here. And we'll post a solution to this sometime late tomorrow, I'd say.
And we'll be back next week again to do some more things related to plugins and how to organize plugins.
And in fact, we'll probably do it with this one as well. So we'll just continue with this one since this one has been an interesting setup anyway. So this will be one that'll be, I think, good to continue with.
That means tune in next week. We'll have an announcement of when this video will be, when the live screen share or the live screen, yeah, when the next one will be. So join us next time. Nathan, I know you got to go. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody here for joining in. And Wilmer, you do have a valid question. I don't want to discount you, so stay on for a little bit, and we'll do a little chat right now. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Thanks for tuning in,
Thanks
guys.
a lot,
and
everybody.
hopefully that gave you at least the manual update steps. I'll tell you everything we did there, from package to tsconfig to tspatch to transformer. That is exactly what you want to do for the update here. This that we're looking at here is a result of some pathing that we messed with just out of tomfoolery. So we'll get a solution posted for this tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, Alex, let me know.
And I will also paste in the chat right here the actual URL. This is a public plugin available on NPM, and it has a GitHub repository, so keep an eye on that as well if you're really curious on how we're going to proceed with this fix. It's probably just a matter of paths, like Nathan said.
All right, take care, Alex. Thanks for hosting. Take care out there, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.